This is your 28storms.com tropical update on Thursday, November 17th. We are still watching two tropical waves located in the central Atlantic, and the stronger of the three systems is this 1009 millibar surface low in the eastern Pacific. The Hurricane Center has increased the probability of development within the next 48 hours to 20%, and I fully suspect that these chances will be on the increase in the coming 1 to 2 days. Today's visible satellite animation shows that all of the Gulf, Caribbean, and Western Atlantic are clear, but we still have quite a lot of disorganized convection located over the central Atlantic, and if we turn on the latest water vapor, we can see that much of this area is being enhanced by two upper-level lows, which does not bode well for truly tropical development, meaning that the vertical wind shear will be way too high. But if convection does persist in the central Atlantic for the next 5 days, there will be an outside chance of a subtropical low formation just prior to the system moving more toward the northeast out ahead of a frontal boundary. But more interestingly, especially for this time of the year during the month of November, this area of low pressure to the south of the Gulf of Tehuantepec is continuing to show additional signs of organization for the third day in a row. Convection is a little bit more abundant than what it was yesterday, and the visible shows that the convection is beginning to consolidate a little bit better around a developing low pressure center. The latest precipitable water analysis of the eastern Pacific also shows that over the last 6 to 12 hours we have seen increasing convergence and moisture in this area of low pressure. This is the 9Z frame, and as we advance this to 14Z, so just over the last 5 hours here, we have seen a notable increase in low-level convergence and moisture. The microwave satellite pass at this time still shows that the area of low pressure is very broad in nature. We don't have a consolidated low pressure circulation at the surface just yet, but this is an increase in organization compared to 24 hours ago. Here is just another quick zoomed in view of the system with the visible satellite animation, and again on the infrared the convection is trying to fire closer to the center, and if you look a little bit more at the mid to upper levels, yes, there is still quite a lot of dry air surrounding the system, but the atmosphere is becoming increasingly moist, especially when you compare this to what we saw 48 hours ago, and we really don't see much in the way of any strong vertical wind shear, so this system will more than likely develop into at least a tropical depression over the next 96 hours. Starting with the latest 12Z model guidance, this is the GFS, and it is trying to develop a subtropical low in the central Atlantic, and then in 4 to 6 days it's going to begin turning out to sea here ahead of a cold front, and it's going to begin acquiring non-tropical characteristics, so we don't have to worry about the system ever becoming a hurricane or anything of the sort. But as we go into day 7, it's also developing that eastern Pacific system, and this is in overall agreement with what the 12Z run of the Canadian CMC model has in store here. Again, both of these systems have the potential to develop. This one will be the more fully tropical system, and by day 6, whatever is left of the subtropical low in the northeast Atlantic will fully be non-tropical by this point. And the third model is the ECMWF. It's keeping the Gulf, Caribbean, and West Atlantic clear throughout the forecast period. By 72 hours, the eastern Pacific low is continuing to move west-northwest out of this picture here. And then as we go into 96 and 120 hours and down, this is by day 5. The European is really not showing much in the way of subtropical development, but it does have this low meeting up with cold front, and it's down to 1007 millibars, located far away from any land masses, so this is not going to be any threat to land. And finally, as we go into days 5 and 6 and beyond here in the eastern Pacific, it is likely that our tropical disturbance will round the western periphery of the mid-level ridge over southern Mexico, and once it does so, it's going to begin moving into slightly cooler water temperatures, but more importantly, it will be moving into increasingly hostile upper air wind conditions. So tropical storm classification still appears likely in the eastern Pacific, but it will not be making a landfall along the Mexican coast. If anything, the Baja Peninsula or western Mexico may receive some of the remnants or some slightly elevated moisture beyond day 6 and day 7, but that's about it. And in the Atlantic Basin, we're looking very good out there. If there's going to be any development, there's about a 20 to 30% chance of a subtropical formation well out into the central Atlantic and far away from any land. So we are looking fairly good here with only a couple weeks left. Stick to 28storms.com. We will have another video by tomorrow afternoon.